I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Mosier, come up to the podium, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the time once again. One action item I have for the board this month is we had North Country Contractors request to be added to our list of approved contractors. North Country Contractors has performed several tasks for us in the past. Their up-and-coming project they're working with us concurrently is the Antique Boat Museum. So they're one of the few contractors that have the equipment to tap into our water main with a suitable diameter size that the Antique Boat Museum requires for their new boat shop. Us at the DPW and Water and Sewer staff, we only have 1.5 to 2-inch taps available for our main line. So with North Country Contractors listed as their recommended contractor, I'd like to formally add them to our list of approved contractors. Lo and behold, they weren't on the list. I know they've done work for us in the past. I know that Terry could vouch for them as well. I'd like to add them to the list, just to make it formal.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
In a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. Next, we had one non-compliance report issued for April 3rd for the East Union Pump Station overflow. In the early morning hours, we received 1¼ inches of rain in about 1 hour's time. So this deluge overflowed our pump station for approximately 24 minutes. This, of course, was very early in the morning. Our corrective action, of course, is to reduce I&I. As we looked at our SCADA trends as a result of this overflow, we discovered that it appeared the Washington Island pump station had it must have been a catastrophic breakage in one of the manhole pipes. We looked back at the trends and we noticed that pump station had been cycling about double this pump cycles every day since late November. So we're able to look at these trends and say, oh geez, something catastrophic happened where this pump station used to only run maybe 15 times a day. Now it's running 30 times a day. Something's up. So we got in the area, we lifted all the manholes that feed that pump station. We discovered in one manhole on Washington Island that there was a broken pipe inside of there. We detected groundwater infiltrating the manhole. We performed chlorine residual tests on it to make sure we didn't have a broken water main in the area, to make sure it wasn't coming from our water plant. It wasn't. It was severe groundwater that was infiltrating this manhole. So in order to fix it, we sent our operators down there with some hydraulic cement patch, and we were able to conceal that leak. Since we've capped that pipe, we've seen pump cycles run from 10 to 15 pump cycles a day, as opposed to 20 to 29 times a day. So it appeared to have worked. I'm hoping that this will also aid in any future storms we have. It'll just kind of prevent that pump station from triggering on and off so much, and of course reduce the amount of flow it's receiving during the storm. So we had to do a New York alert, of course, file a non-compliance report, and that's since been issued. Corrective action has been taken care of. I've been working with Paula Jacobs at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and getting that corrected. The month of April, we also had 14 water on requests as more people open up their summer homes. This time of year, we're closing the books right now, so I'm looking at scheduling some preventative maintenance for our VFDs, for our flow calibration, for our alarm systems check. This stuff is required per annum. I, of course, have it budgeted for in our budget plan and also in the asset management plan. One of the items on the asset management plan that had been brought up in the past was replacing the variable frequency drives at the East Union Pump Station. I did receive a quote to go ahead and replace those. We put those off last budget cycle because we had some pumps that needed repair at some of our pump stations, so we went ahead and repaired those pumps instead. That being said, we put this off. I'd still like to pursue it. So the reason why these VFDs are generally replaced is they are shelf-lifed. These items Don't last as long as some of the other electrical components in each pump station, but these drives are actually kind of they limit the voltage to the pump, so they slowly pick up or slowly decrease in speed when they turn on and turn off, and it obviously saves the life of the pump greatly. The VFDs we have at that pump station now are approaching 15 years old. They're antiquated. Although there have been no faulty reports from their field inspections, these items are typically things that the authority recommends we replace as requested. So I'd like to pursue that if possible. Of course, that requires a review. It's over $5,000 for the replacement of that.
Jeff, how much is it?
$7,000 for the total replacement.
That's right.
So I could schedule that later on if you guys want to, think about that and discuss that. Other than that, there was the system's running fine. We're doing our valve exercises, our sewer flushing. We've got a few questions in regards to the annual water quality report that was issued. And, other than that, we're going to be undergoing some out of the normal testing this summer. We have to collect PFAS samples from the river every 3 years, so this is one of the years we're going to have to go ahead and do that, as well as some radiological testing for the water plant. But I don't suspect there'll be any issues with that. And that's all I had, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions. So when, with the non-compliance, is there a fine or anything, or is it just simply you just got to show you got it done and then everything's good?
Yeah, I don't expect there to be a fine with this. We've had similar violations of this sort that we've issued with the DEC. This was when we had our combined sewer overflows permitted. Now that we don't have these combined sewer, East Union was a CSO outfall at one point. Since we decommissioned those outfall with the latest capital improvement project, the DEC has been understanding and allowing us to work out some of the kinks with the new system. I have not yet to see a fine on my time here in the last 2.5 years. Of course, that is at the discretion of Paula Jacobson and our regional representative.
So it broke in November, and then but it was not noticed until April because obviously that was when there was a big rainfall.
Correct.
What's the process as far as when you're, like do you have a regular, I don't know, every month or 3 months you go to this one, like sort of circulating when you're going down the manholes, or do you just kind of do that when something comes up?
We have a preventative maintenance work order that's issued every week where the operators will have to go to the pump station, we'll get the hours off the generator, they'll make sure everything's running fine. These pump stations have alarming systems, so we'll be alerted of any over temperature, low voltage, low wet well alarms, but it will not indicate whether or not the pump is running more frequently or not. So,
well, it's pretty amazing if you think about it. So it broke, and then within 20 minutes you guys addressed it. So.
well, it was a couple months. So
it
broke in November,
overflow.
and we didn't realize that it had broken until we started backtracking. Where is all this water coming from?
Right.
We look at all the we've got 14 pump
but it didn't affect the
stations.
system until that one, right?
It was always affecting the system. It was with the added rain that it overwhelmed us that time. With the 1.25 inches of rain that we received, it was just too much with the incoming water that it overwhelmed us. Had that incoming water not have been there all along, we may not have overflowed.
And has there been any other overflows down there in East Union? Or was that the?
That's been it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been it. The last one we had, I believe, was last August during that great big ungodly storm we had.
And then it's your recommendation to replace, and I'm switching town to the variable drive, it's your recommendation to replace that now before something happens, and then do we have that in the budget? I mean, I'm sure we have a certain amount that we...
We do. I had allocated that under my operating costs to replace those VFDs, yes.
And then finally, so I get this question all the time, and I don't really have a good way to answer it, but why do we use, dank, basically, like what, you guys, like what's the, if you give me like in a sentence or two.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm kind of your liaison between the regulatory figures, Department of Health, the EPA, DEC, of course. And so every month I'm taking the sample collections. Every week I'm submitting these to the lab. You know, I'm doing the discharge monitoring reports, the operating reports for DOH, the liaison between the engineers and the department. So I do a lot of the compliance.
Yeah,
As far as the hands-on stuff, those are our Teamsters, our village operators.
Yeah, those are the people in, right, so
Exactly.
it's not like we don't even have somebody that could do what you had to do. So, well, why don't they do, that's what I hear all the time, well, why don't they just do it with their guys? But that's the reason, because you're the liaison to all these different, you know, moving parts and forms and all the bureaucracy, basically, that one has to do.
My guys are pretty good at what they do,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of
Yeah.
good at other things.
Yeah,
in other
absolutely.
areas.
Well, thank you, no, that's a good, that makes it a lot easier to answer the questions.
Dank started with us, I'd have to go back and look, but I would say it was sometime in the late 90s. Trustee Orbono was part of what got them under, come and look at the village, because with that time there were a lot of problems at the sewer plant. Smell was a big one. And so he got Dank to come on board a lot. He and also Debbie Septon, they worked for quite a bit for the water plant. And they've just stayed, and I know there's been a lot, like you said, a lot of conversation. I thought the same thing when I came on. John Bucher, Trustee Bucher, he thought the same thing. But the more we've worked with the water department, it's like, yeah, no. If we let them go, it's the reporting. And they do great reporting for us. And I'm not suggesting that our 3 guys couldn't do it, but they're better off as our operators in taking care of the quality. Jeff and Dank do a lot of that reporting, getting us our permits and all that type of thing.
Yeah, and when
They've become very valuable to
Yeah.
us. Are they a bit expensive at times, maybe? Yes.
Yeah,
But we don't have a lot of water
well,
problems.
it saves massive
saves-
fines too,
that's
right?
correct.
No, we
Yes.
use Dank in Sackett Harbor too,
Yes.
but it occurred to me, I'd like an updated answer, you know what I mean? So,
Sure.
or an answer to give, and thank you, so that helps me.
My
And we
pleasure.
all do think, we get rid of Dank, we can save quite a bit of money, and then you're like, no, don't.
Right.
I also understand that when you pay for me, you also pay for all of Dank, you know, so
Yes.
you get our engineering firm,
Right.
you get our telecom, you get our control engineers, you know, I've had our control engineers figure out the pump stations,
Yeah.
calculating control
And they look at a
stations.
lot of, any of the projects that go on in the village. Dank doesn't oversee, but they look at all that.
Yeah, it's another set of eyes on it.
Before it's given the okay to go forward.
Right, so anytime we get a new water or sewer
Yeah.
connection application, our engineering team at Dank reviews that.
Thank you.
Also, I understand the reserves were a little bit upside down before Dank had started.
Oh,
We had come up
most
with this
likely.
EDU system for building
Yes.
the village and
Yes.
recuperating revenues
Yes.
for that. And I understand our revenues have been growing a little bit since Dank has.
Well, I like you do a lot of proactive things, you know, which is, I mean, it's like you want to do with a car or anything else, you got to preventive maintenance, can cost, or save a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, one of my most valuable tools is Dank's proprietary next-gen software that they issue. You know, this helps document all of our assets.
Yeah.
It's a document for everything. It lets us know when something's a day or 2 old, you know, past its shelf life. Any kind of service records we've done to it gets added to that file. So it's become a really good benefit for me to utilize, because obviously there's over 800,000 implements in this village
Yeah.
that are over $2,500. So,
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
my pleasure.
Hey, Jeff, I have a quick question. It's a lot of forever chemicals have been in the news a lot lately, and I'm just wondering about tests for our water system. Has there been one, and what was the outcome?
The last test was performed in 2023. Our PFAS levels then were 2.9 nanograms per liter, so that's 2.9 parts per trillion. I understand that EPA had just issued a new maximum contamination level of 4.0 parts per thousand, so we are under that maximum contamination level that the EPA had just issued. I suspect that down the road, we may have to implement some newer technologies in filtering out PFAS and PFOA if EPA so requires. But as of right now, obviously, there's not a whole lot we could do. We collect our water from this river system that's draining all of the upper Midwest and Northeast, and there's Only ways of filtering it out of the water, I understand, are granular activated carbon filters and reverse osmosis, which our filtration plant right now is ill-equipped square footage-wise to handle such a technology. So if that were the case, we would be looking at a new footprint for a plant.
Thank you.
Hoping that's not the case. Some of the conversations I've had with my colleagues in that, they expect that level to relax. So hopefully that's the case.
Well, the way things are going currently, that very well may relax,
You bet.
which may not be always good.
Right. So we're going to be doing another test this July. So I'll update you guys with those results once I get them.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
As you see, Terry's not here. Any questions on his report? As he said in the beginning, the Seaway Marine, all of the ramps are on. I talked with the divers. That was very interesting. And you could see they have a camera, the diver, they keep an eye on, they know what he's doing. The diver measures things, comes back, and they said everything was in very good shape. And there was a piece of C-Flex that broke last year, I believe it was, and that's been replaced, but there was no slippage of any of the anchors. So everybody was very pleased, and we had a relatively rough winter.
Yeah.
So people were very pleased about that.
They didn't get to take that one anchor out?
No, not yet.
The plan is
No,
to take it out?
the plan is still to take it out, but it wasn't taken out at this time. Terry's gonna get a bigger buoy mooring to put there. He's just got that small one. He'll get a bigger one to put there and get that taken care of.
Can we try to take it out the fall when we're,
I believe so, and I think maybe that was the next time to do it, yes.
okay.
As of the end of last week, he had not gotten all of his quotes in regard to the concrete work. So he should have gotten them by this week, and he'll have that put together.
Are we talking sidewalks?
We're talking sidewalks, yes. And I'd like to, we'll decide later, but I'd like to have a workshop June 9th, so we could discuss the sidewalks and get that underway, if that works for everyone. It is mowing season, no grass on the road and no grass in the sidewalks, please.
Did you want to have the work session at 4?
Yes, please, if that works for everyone. The the ABM has requested over the past year or two, there was a vacant green space at the ABM and trailers were parking there. And they've requested that there be no more trailers parked there. They also requested that there be no trailers parked in the parking lot behind Watertown Savings Bank. And I said, okay, it's not our property, so we cannot police it. But I put together this little paper that, just a section of it. We want them to park over at Lions Field, and it will be given out to the boaters as they load their boats into the water.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that's what we're doing, and
Yeah.
hope that will work. We'll put it on our website. We'll also put it on our Facebook page also. We'll go from there. But we don't want people, as it says there, not to park on the streets, because then there's no room for vehicles. So take
Yeah.
them over to Lions Field is our best bet with that right now.
Are there going to be tickets given out for trailers that are left there?
The people can park there for over 24 hours, and after that, if it becomes a problem, we'll probably just have to start ticketing. The tough part is the trailer's there, but where's the person? And hard to get in touch with people. We had a car last year, I believe it was, on Huguenon for 2+ weeks, and they found out who the car belonged to, but nobody was answering the phone. A lot of times people, as you know, they go off to islands and you can't get in touch with anyone. So it's going to be one of those shuffle about type situations. Are there any other questions? or any comments about his report? The guys are doing a great job. I got a lot of comments over the weekend about how nice the village works. They got their new zero turn. You'd think those boys, those gentlemen just were in the beer store. They couldn't have been happier. Sit. Even I sat on it. They loved it. They're just so thrilled with it. And I can understand why now that I sat on it. It's got great suspension. I also wanted to comment here. There was a question brought up 2 weeks ago about the police report, but it applies to all of the reports. The supervisor of every department writes their own report. We don't have, the clerks have no input. They don't even type it up for them. All the supervisors do their own reports. Any questions on the police report? No. So there was an email that came to all of us approximately 2 weeks ago, I believe, in reference to a dog that runs around the community consistently. And as you saw my reply, I got in touch with the dog control, et cetera, et cetera. Chief Patnaw then had a discussion last week with the dog control person. Her name is Betsy Ring, I believe it is. She said that she has ticketed that individual numerous times. None of the tickets have been paid. So everyone in the police department and others has said if the dog gets, captured or on a leash, we will call Betsy up and the dog will go to the pound and go north.
And then they'll have to pay all
Then
those
they will
tickets
have to pay to
rub
get
the
them
dog
out. Yes,
yeah.
yes. But enough, how many years have we been dealing with this? Too many years, so enough is enough. I've spoke to the dog's grandfather about this, letting him know what's going to happen. But we can't go knock on the door and say, could I see your dog for a moment, please, and clip him and take him away. But that's the plan. We hope it works out. Zoning, Dave is not here tonight. He took the day off. He had a very busy, it was a very busy, stressful week last week with zoning and codes. We found out a lot of information. Amanda worked very hard and created a lot of reports, paperwork that he needs, switching it to the village, et cetera, and that's pretty much intact right now. We've been trying to get the files, and we've had no success, very limited success in getting the files. We've asked for specific addresses. I even had the lawyer call, and we don't have anything. So we will continue to move forward on that and not worry about it. Maybe we'll get them, but I don't see it happening. So, and like I said, Amanda worked very, very diligently last week to get reports together. Dave worked hard. A lot of emotions last week, but we're getting it together. So he will have his report for the June 9th meeting. And that's all I have for that. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
No.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. For 1 through 6, and a second, please?
Yep.
Alrighty. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Then we have the Clayton Chamber of Commerce. Information, that's our agreement with them.
I'll make the motion.
And the second? And then also our agreement with CLDC.
Do we want
Make a motion for that also.
did we vote on the first one yet? Or?
No, we didn't. Not really. Well, he said,
I'll make a motion.
he made a motion.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Any opposed? And all in favor?
Aye.
Super. Thank you. The CLDC grant writing. We use them every year with our grants. And so could I have a motion to accept that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And also, the first one was for the grants, but the second one is money that we give them every year to help sustain the corporation, which is very necessary. Could I have a motion for that, please?
Make that motion.
In a second?
Awesome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. April financials. We need a motion for that. They've been received.
I'll make the motion.
In a second.
I'll second.
Let's see, transferring, you see the transfer of money?
Well, did we vote
There's a
on that?
motion.
April?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the April.
Well, I don't think we voted on it, though. Yeah, I'm in favor.
Make a motion?
But-
You made
No,
a
the
motion, you
is second, but I
second.
don't think we voted.
All in favor?
Yeah, sorry.
Any opposed?
Okay.
And transfer the money from one account to the other for the ballistic vest replacement?
I'll
Oh,
make
that
the
would be
motion.
for the
I'll
police
second it.
department. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, we've agreed on the workshop for June the 9th, and we will do sidewalks. But we'll get that taken care of, sidewalks. Any board members have reports?
Yeah, there's a new round of grants for the thing that I do, what is it? Climate Smart, thank you,
Yes,
Climate
there
Smart,
is.
and up to $2 million. There's 51 million available, but up to $2 million per grant. So now would this be something then that, like, who would do
Well,
the
if
grant application?
The
Is it-
grant
is it-
application, we would have CLDC
Yeah,
do,
great.
but as I read through those, you have to be prepared. You may put in 5%, you may put in 50%.
Yeah,
So we'll obviously have to look at those and
because,
see.
yeah, I was just
But-
thinking if we're, looking at doing something here.
Well, that's what I wanted to discuss. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mike, for interrupting.
Oh, that's all right.
At the next workshop is the presentations by the two
The
firms.
On the
Yes.
9th.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct,
okay.
yes.
Great. Did you
Yeah.
say the one firm is going to come again, or, because you would
Well,
talk?
we could, I don't know if that's real, I don't know if it's necessary, we can discuss it.
Okay,
at the
then we'll
night.
just discuss it, got it,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
I never
Yes.
thought on that, electric charging station.
Yeah,
I thought that would be a good grant application. I know the town just recently got one, so one in the village I think would be appropriate.
Yeah.
well, I was at the Essential Housing meeting today, and that was brought up, their charging stations. Tim said that they're, not the they meaning the town, but there's a lot of difficulty with New York State, and they say yes, and then they say no, having to do with the way it's installed, this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. But we have to look and see, if you can just go to Cerro Park and use them, where would we put it in the village, and do we need them? In the village.
I was told that if you approach Tesla, that they can be a great help for getting grants. So that'd be something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
I would think that the back lot of this building would be an ideal central location for a charger.
I know there's been conversation the conversation has been that they meaning the hotel, should put in some charging stations. But I don't know where they all sit with that.
Yeah, it's a question of, eventually there'll be lots of charging stations, but, yeah, who takes the lead on doing the first ones and all of that?
Right.
I would think the hotel would make a certain amount of sense, because that's a draw to the hotel.
You would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know this grant with, that the town got, they got that quite a few years ago. This isn't a new grant. They just apparently it's just been taking time to move it forward and get it installed.
Yeah, I think there's also some issues with, New York State versus the federal government, because the
Yes.
federal government's priorities are different.
Right.
So the grant might have been based on money they were supposed to get
Very
from the
possible.
federal. They're not, because I know there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a
But
lot
I think
of-
it's always worth
Yes.
pursuing, and I think down here, somewhere around here would be a good. place for us to be one.
Could have incorporated in our
Yeah,
rehabilitation.
exactly, could be part of it.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have anything?
Library meeting was held on May 21st. And there's some parts that need to be reordered for the ramp that the village is going to be rebuilding. And the village crew is going to get after that after Memorial Day. And there's a heat and air conditioning issue that they're talking to Terry Jones about also. They're going to put in 5 new computers, and the computers are going to be the computers that the public is going to come in and use, not so much the librarians
Right,
themselves.
yes. Yeah, they rotate them out every so many years, yes. I think, Rob, we want to talk to the library if they're having a problem, and I'll talk more with Terry. But maybe they too need to have split systems.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Because there are times in the, with the weather, that some of those rooms are not used. And I've often said, can't you turn these lights off? Because I was raised in a household, you turn lights off.
Right.
I went around and turned lights off.
You could go to the table with
That's
dirty
my job,
hands, but you
yeah.
had to turn the lights off. So, they can't because of the way it's off, you turn one off and it takes off a couple of them. But I think that might be good
Yeah.
for them to look into split systems. Because I know they spend quite a bit of money on electricity for that.
And that would give us more credits too for the
That would
next
help.
round.
Mhm.
Because, yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, I was going to make this comment, and I've been thinking about it for a number of years, and I see that a Watertown council person has brought it up. But I'd like to see the village take and create a program, as we've learned, having, 48 or 49 non-for-profits. They're not paying, they don't pay into the fire department, they don't pay into tiers.
You mean
Not for
tax exempt?
tax exempt,
There's
excuse
60.
me. You said there were 60?
There are 60. Now with the new building next to the Art Center, that's number 60.
And those buildings should pay into the fire department, because fire, it's costing the fire departments a lot more because of new regulations. And they don't look and see if you paid your tax, they just put your fire out. So I think I'd love to work on something like that and start.
Good,
There may be, I'm sure there's hurdles, but they should pay something, and it should be something more than, oh, I'll be your friend at $50. That's just my opinion. So I'd like to see us move forward. I don't know how it all looks, I just,
Do we know who sets that
Yeah.
rate? Does the county do that?
I think the county does, but they get their budget.
We could probably back into it by looking at our own tax bills, but that would be the way to, we know what they're assessed for,
That's
on
what
our
I
records.
was thinking also.
And then back into that and
Right.
say, you're assessed for the boat museum, $3
Right.
million, so
Right.
your participation, if you were paying taxes on that, would be this,
Right.
for the fire department.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because we
I think
all
it's a
know
good
what
idea.
we pay, and I
Yeah.
think in my town taxes, it's like 112 or
But
15.
and everybody is assessed
Yes.
in the village, whether
Yes.
they're non-taxed or whether they're taxed or not, they're all assessed.
And I think that's the way to do it. And then I was also thinking for some of these, 1 or 2 of us go to their board meeting, not to the executive directors, but to the board, and explain. Because the fire departments are having a tough time with a lot of the regulations coming from New York State.
I think we also support tiers that way, right?
Yes, and yeah, we support tiers, and
Right.
again, they show up they're
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
They're here all the time.
Like you say, they'll check your tax record.
Well, not only that,
And
but
what's fair is fair.
if you think about it, when they have big events,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Tiers is parked there.
Yeah.
They're right there on the scene. So
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not sure if there's any contribution to them or not. I don't know. I never asked. So, but it would be a good thing to know.
Correct. And I don't think there's much, but I could be incorrect. Yes. Any other comments?
I just wanted to say that we were, Dave was looking for a meeting
Yes, it's
coming
gonna,
up, and talking about the future, how
It's
his
gonna
job is
happen.
going to change.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. We're thinking tomorrow or Thursday because he took today off. But yeah, I spoke to him. Amanda's spoken to him.
And
So
there-
yes,
And there has been movement on looking for a new
addition,
employee.
yes, yes. I think just need to set up some interview times.
Amanda was thinking Thursday of this
Okay.
week, maybe Friday.
Perfect.
Hopefully, we can get some help for David.
Yes, absolutely, yes, yes. So do I have a motion to adjourn and go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, where you been? Trying to stay out of trouble.
Is there a joint meeting coming up with the town?
June 25th at 5 o'clock, which is a Wednesday.
Oh, okay,
Yes, it's their meeting.
okay.
Yes.
So it's probably then at Zero?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the joint meeting is first, and then their meeting is afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I'm just gonna put a time.
You were talking about,
Last time.
or were you talking New York State?
Yeah, the grant